drive, Shoreline rubber wheel drive on a CraftLander boat lift. And what it's going to do is there's a rubber wheel that's going to power this wheel up and down with a switch. They come in 12 volt and they come in 110. The units look the same. Of course, one's for battery and one's for plugging in an outlet. What you're going to get is a box, a Shoreline box, and you're going to have your equipment inside of it. You're going to have an arm that mounts to the boat lift, and I usually mount them to the diagonal member, somewhere in about there, and we'll show you in a little bit, like with it on there. You're going to have a connector bar, which will be connecting to the bar that connects to the hoist. It's going to go something like that. And then you're going to have a pivot arm with a motor on it, and that's going to go on top of those two bars, and it's going to power the wheel up and down. And there'll be a bungee cord hooked between this and the winch to power it up and down. You're going to get a bag of hardware. Now, the hardware it comes with, you're not going to be able to mount it with. You're going to be short some items. But what you got is some hose clamps to hold the arm on here. 2 hose clamps, they work good. You'll have to trim some off when you're done. Make sure you tape the edges because they're going to be sharp. You've got a 5/8 bolt. You've got some 1/2-inch bolts. You've got a real sharp bungee cord, which doesn't work with what you're trying to do here. So I have picked up a couple of things to go with this kit from the hardware. I've got a 21-inch bungee cord. Probably an 18 or 19 or 20 would work also. This happened to be all I could pick up. I also picked up a 5/8 lock nut. It's got like a little nylon insert on it. And I picked up 3 additional washers, which I'm going to use for a spacer because it doesn't line up perfectly. So you're going to need bungee cord, 5/8 nylon lock nut, and 3 5/8 washers that we'll use for spacers. So with those, you should be all set as far as hooking it up. So what I'm going to be doing is showing you the unit completely hooked up next. Okay, I have got the Shoreline rubber wheel drive all hooked up, and I'll kind of show you all the parts that I've put on. First of all, the arm that I talked about earlier, I've got it secured with those clamps, and the clamps work good, but there's a lot of excess material there, so you could cut it off. And if you do cut it off, just make sure you tape it or something so it's not real sharp. So you can do that on both of them. I've got the intermediate arm bolted to the outside of it, like it's shown there. And then I've got the pivot arm with the motor on it, with the 5/8 bolt going through it, hooked up to that. Now I've got 3 washers, 3 5/8 washers in between the pivot or the connector arm and the pivot arm, and then I've got a washer and the bolt going through. Then I've picked up a lock nut here to go on the outside, and it should be tightened up so it doesn't like vibrate off. So that's pretty much it. It can be put on this side too. This arm here can be mounted to the back column. You're going to need a few more washers, and it's going to go above the winch. And but it can be done either way. You do need a longer strap. This is a 21-inch strap. Probably anything from an 18 to 21-inch strap would work. I have it hooked to the winch roller mechanism down there. Just make sure you're not interfering with the cable spool under there, which I'm not. But that's about the only place you're going to be able to hook that bungee. But what the bungee does is it creates pressure between the wheel, rubber drive, and this here. So when you power it, it's going to be able to spin it going up. The switch is on the back side here, so it's not in the front where it's maybe a little bit more easily accessible. It's in the back. So that's the way that's just the way it hooks up, and it's going to hook up that way on either the winch column or the diagonal brace where I have it mounted here. So that's pretty much it. There's a ground fault here. I believe it's a ground fault, but you need to have a ground fault going out to the water. You need to have a ground fault before you even run a cable out on the dock. That's extremely important. But there's a ground fault there. It's I'm not sure if it's regulation that needs to be there or not, but make sure you have it going off the dock. So that's about it. It's put on. It's a little Mickey Mouse looking, but it does work. And the advantage of this is you've got the wheel. If you ever have problems with the unit, you've got the wheel there. You can